The Digital Photography Cafe show is brought to you by Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool for your camera.
Welcome to the Digital Photography Cafe show. Join host Trevor Curran and Joseph Christina as they serve up the hottest photography news and commentary.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the show. This is episode 189. I'm Joseph Christina here with my co-host Trevor Curran. On last week's show, we talked about Panasonic to introduce 8K cameras, Google's new photo service, and Adobe kills Photoshop Touch. If you haven't watched last week's show, I encourage you to do so. You can find it at digitalphotographycafe.com and our YouTube channel, youtube.com/dphotocafe. Listen with the popular Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox music apps, or subscribe through iTunes or RSS.
So, Joe, we're back. How you doing?
We're here, my friend. Another week, show 189.
I know.
Getting up there.
Yeah.
Pretty close to that bicentennial.
This is kind of like Christmas for you this past week, right? You got some goodies in the mail there, I see.
Yeah, we got some goodies. Got my camera came back. My 70-200 came back. Matter of fact, here's my 70-200, guys. Look at this. It's still in the wrapper. Shiny and new. I don't know. They did their 11, 13 point, whatever it is, inspection, cleaned it all out. Make sure the glass is all nice and good. If you guys remember, or if you didn't listen to last week's show, I had a problem with my 5D. This was months and months ago, where the camera's mirror actually just came off and was rattling around inside of this 70-200 inside of the glass area on the back end. So that was not good. But after a couple of months, they ended up recalling it. I sent it back into them, just like I told you guys that you need to do. And we had a really good kind of back and forth. We ended up sending it in. I only had one person give me a little bit of a kind of issue. So, and that had to do with the 70-200 that was connected to the 5D at the time.
Right.
I wanted them to inspect that also, just in case that, glass to glass mirror kind of scratching around inside the back of the glass of the 70-200 didn't kind of mess things up. So I ended up getting them to do that. It ended up costing me nothing. And there we go. We got it back. Here's the 5D. It is now back. Now, this is the what it should look on the inside. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a mirror there. And in my other hand,
dark space.
In my other hand is the mirror that used to be in there that is now in my hand that it shouldn't be.
Nice.
So, yeah. This was actually floating around inside of the lens, so that was not cool. But what's interesting, guys, and I've talked about this before, and how these cameras sound, and they're extremely loud. And I just to kind of demonstrate on how loud these things are. Listen to this. This is the 5D. This is the one that we just had repaired, and you can hear what it sounds like. Listen to this here. Now that's motoring, right? That's the best that it can do. And now here's another one. This is a 5D Mark II. Now listen to this one. The exact same settings. You can tell that the 5D Mark II obviously is cranking them out a hell of a lot faster than the original. But still, you can hear how loud that is, and that's why I've been this proponent of mirrorless. I think eventually we're going to all be mirrorless, and we're going to have that time where we don't have this clacking in the back of the church or during a very quiet event where you don't want clacking. So, all in all, we got the 5D back. I'm very happy. Got my 70-200. Not a clue what they ended up doing to it, but I'm going to guess that everything is copacetic and it's cleaned out and everything is good.
Yeah, they checked the oil, rotated the tires. You're good to go now.
Exactly.
I suppose if there was a problem, they would have told you.
Yeah, exactly. And given me a bill possibly, but probably not.
A bill, exactly.
But but anyways, like I said, if you guys have a 5D, send it in for that coverage. Send it in for repairs because
absolutely.
They will
it's
fix
free.
it.
Take advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So anyways, we got to get through a lot of things pretty quick today. We got a lot of things to go through.
Yeah, we do. And, we talk a lot about drones as well. We do mirrorless cameras and all, but these are the hot things right now. So it's, I think it makes sense for us to stay on top of them. So here's kind of an interesting story. Up in New York State, there was a structure fire, and maybe we'll play the video while we're talking about it here. And so a house is burning. The news is out on the street with their cameras and everything, and a local resident or photographer decided they're going to launch their drone and fly over the scene, kind of circle around the back of the house where the fire was, and film some footage. When watching the video, the camera, the drone was up there for quite some time, and about 12 minutes into the video, I guess the firefighters took notice to the drone flying over the scene there, and all of a sudden turned and pointed the hose at him on high pressure and started blasting the drone.
Yeah.
I
don't know, man. That's brutal. That's brutal. It's like we always say, it's like the Wild Wild West, right? No one knows what's going on. It's kind of just do whatever you want to do. The FAA is trying to regulate. They're giving permission, taking permission away, saying what you can do, what you can't do.
Yep.
It's kind of just all up in the air, literally. Pardon the pun. But you're looking at a $2,200 drone that just got blasted from the fire department. Who's going to pay for that? Does the city pay for that? Is there any? To me, I think that if there's no law that says that drone cannot be there, and it's X number of feet away from that disaster area, let's just call it, or that event that's mandated, I think that they're in the right to be able to fly that drone around, and there's going to have to be some type of compensation made by the fire department, by the city themselves. So I don't know. I really don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the fence with this.
I'm on the fence too.
Thing.
I mean, this originally came from a Firefighters website. And, I'm reading comments on both sides. The firefighters saying, we don't want this object flying above our heads while we're trying to do our jobs and worrying about this thing potentially falling on our heads. It creates for an unsafe scene.
Right.
On the other hand, we have rights to be able to take pictures. We have rights. We have certain abilities to do things. Should we be refrained from doing them? Yeah. So this is where the FAA or some other organization is going to have to step in and really start regulating the usage of this stuff. I mean, again, it may come down to licensing. It may come down to some different things. But right now, this is the Wild West. Yeah. And it's kind of all over the place. And people are reacting, sometimes not great to this new technology. And some people are using this new technology in not the best ways. So,
but there's no guidance. That's the problem. That's the problem. There's no guidance on how to do it properly. So, I see in, let's say 2020, how we see paparazzi, and they line up and there's like people are getting out of the cars and they're all shooting, and they're all in this specific area where, let's say, the camera crew can be or the news people can be.
Right.
I could see that happening up in the air. And have 20
that virtual
drones,
yellow tape there or something.
Virtual yellow tape. So you have 20 drones lined up in this, the west area of this specific spot, let's say, where they are allowed to be. And then you'll have camera crews all, up there in the air with all drones filming from up there. So, 2020, right? There's something like this will end up happening. It just has to,
Yeah, exactly. So needless to say, they damaged a $2,200 drone.
Yeah.
That there's going to be recourse. Somebody's going to have to pay for it, or this guy is going to be out of luck. So
yeah. Well, anyways, guys, if you were some of the few that picked up the brand new, the Sony A7R, not new, but a really expensive camera, over $2,000, and you picked it up for $199 because of a glitch over there on Sony's website. For some reason, I think you're not going to get it.
Yeah, no, you're not. This was kind of funny, actually. This was picked up on the sites as a hot topic this week. And it turns out Sony had a glitch in their store. And the pricing for the A7R, which, as you know, is a full-frame mirrorless camera, really, really nice. And it went up for $200. And that was like the big thing. It actually went up on Amazon for $200. So obviously there's some sort of connectivity between Amazon and Sony's websites here.
Sure.
And a few people decided to try and take advantage of this fantastic deal and purchased it. And it went through the shopping cart and they said, your order has been placed. And, at this point, the people said that you're either going to get an email notice back saying that you're not getting it, or you're going to get one heck of a deal. But as it turns out, you're not getting it.
You're not getting it. Definitely not. So we all make mistakes, but there's no way for them to be able to do that. I went 90% off or something.
No.
So, but back to the drone thing. I was looking at this article earlier, and it was talking about this guy that has his drone flying around in the street, right? And he's literally 6 feet off the ground, and he's just kind of like demoing it, probably for a friend of his or something. They're testing it out. It's probably a new one. It's probably like $1,000 or more for this little drone. And I think it was a DJI, the Phantom 3 Pro, which is it's not cheap. It's probably $1,000 or more. And this drunken man, right, walks up with his shirt and just frickin' fly swats the thing.
Yep, knocks it to the ground, breaks
God.
the lens on the camera, breaks the props, 3 of the 4 props, damages the chassis. He said something in the video about, you better not fly that over my house, and just took his shirt and swatted it out of the air like a fly, and it comes smashing to the ground. So
yes, so it's kind of interesting. It makes me think that when you hear today, guys, right, drone, I think it's connected to something negative. It's connected to something that shouldn't be done, or it's whatever. And people hear this in the news, and they're predisposed to think. We're constantly pushed this negative thought on what a drone is. I mean, I was flying little helicopters and driving little RCs when I was a kid.
Yep.
It wasn't called a drone. It was a helicopter. It was a plane or whatever. But now we stick a little tiny camera lens on it, and now it's a drone, like something that you're gonna, it's gonna
like
be
a
in
military
Iraq
drone or something.
Right, Afghanistan, exactly.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of negativity towards drones, and that's where you get these people that they're drunk. They're not even thinking of, they're just out of their mind anyways. But in their head, they're thinking drones negative. And that's the quote. I don't want to see that over my house. I don't want that over my house.
I don't want you filming over my house while I'm laying by the pool or something like that. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, and there are legitimate concerns. I mean, there's privacy at stake here. I mean, people with these little things, 100 feet in the air flying over your house. I mean, that's an invasion of privacy. Now, I mean, that's it. The Wild West. I mean, they're going to be taking their BB guns and shooting them out of the air. I mean, it's crazy right now. And people on both sides need to, just realize that this is the new times. This is new technology. Right. And the people using this technology have to take in privacy issues and use common sense.
I think the other thing here is just simply knowing that there is no more privacy. I mean, it's just when you go on Instagram or you go onto Facebook, and then every step of your way going to the restaurant, you're doing selfies, taking pictures out of your window. It's time stamping everything. Whenever you do this, people know exactly where you are at any given time.
Yeah.
You're at the restaurant and you're taking pictures of your food, and you're taking pictures of your drinks and all this stuff. I mean, I'm notorious for doing it myself. I love taking pictures, but understand there's no more privacy. Privacy is pretty much dead. It's been dead for years. And now all of a sudden they're worrying about the drones and privacy. It's just, I think at this point it's kind of get over it. They're really, I mean, unless you go and put yourself in a bubble, there really isn't privacy. And that's not even private either. People could be on the street listening to your conversation through, panes of glass or through feet of concrete from the outskirts of your land or your driveway, and you wouldn't be, none the wiser of it. So privacy is pretty much done. So I think at this point, just need to get over it.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. They're going to have to regulate all this. It is crazy, and this is obviously a big issue, and it's only going to get bigger until some government body steps in and really puts regulations on this stuff.
Right. So, all right, guys, we have a lot more for you, but before we go any further, let's go ahead and hear from one of our sponsors.
Are you frustrated with slightly out of focus images when you know your autofocus spot was dead on? It's simply not your fault. From manufacturer to manufacturer, and even lens copy to lens copy, there are slight variances to the exact spot where light is being focused onto the sensor. Finally, there's a product that allows you to compensate for those variances and make sharper images immediately. Focus Pyramid, the autofocus lens calibration tool, is an absolute must for every photographer. If you want to make the sharpest images possible, then you need to take control over your camera's focusing system. With the Focus Pyramid, you can calibrate all of your lenses on your lunch break. The Focus Pyramid makes lens calibration quick and easy at an affordable price. So give your lenses a new lease on life and take your photography to the next level. Head over to focuspyramid.com/DPC and get an additional 10% off just for being a show listener.
All right, we're back. And mirrorless cameras, right? We've been talking about them, interchangeable lens cameras. We've been referring to them as all kinds of different things, honestly.
Yeah, ILCs.
ILCs, right. I mean, system cameras. Well, it is now official. The CEA, the Consumer Electronics Association, a governing body, a standards organization, have finally called the technology and gave it a name and called it mirrorless. Mirrorless is the new name, or the
and
final
Sony.
name.
Sony is static, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Sony right now, according to polls, Sony is the big leader in the mirrorless technology market.
Right.
They are really kind of by far the leader. You know, their alpha cameras have been huge. They've been a really big success. Other companies like Panasonic and Fuji and Olympus and stuff, you know, while they have great products, they just don't have quite the market share yet that Sony does.
Right.
I do see that changing over time. But part of this survey, or part of this research that they did show that mirrorless revenue has grown by 16.5%. And during the same time period, they're saying that the DSLR camera has dropped in sales by 15%.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And, you know, face value, you'd be like, oh, wow, look at the correlation.
Yeah,
You know,
they're
16
switching
point-
from DSLRs to mirrorless. But
Exactly. And I literally don't think that that's the case,
No.
guys. I think a lot of it is people are putting away, you know, cameras, traditional cameras, and picking up their iPhones or the
Yes.
Android phones and just saying they're good enough. And we're going back to that whole, you know, the 110 days where images weren't as great as they could be, just because we want convenience,
Yes.
small, compact, or whatever. We want the camera in our pocket. Best camera, you know, anywhere, of course, is the one in your pocket.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have one, you can't capture the moment. So I see that. I'd like I said, I don't think there is a correlation.
No.
But it is interesting that we're seeing a 16.5% decrease in DSLRs. That is very interesting. You know, seeing mirrorless coming up, I think it's, you know, it's kind of a side note. Mirrorless definitely will be the technology that all the pros will be using, I would say, in 2 to 4 years anyway.
Right.
I think it's just going to go that way, period.
yeah, right now it's more consumer oriented. You know, let's say even prosumer, the advanced shooter. You know, this is what it's coming down to when it comes
Right.
time for them to buy a new camera. Rather than going out and buying the DSLR, they're purchasing these mirrorless cameras
Right.
because of all the great benefits of it. But yes, from professional adaptation, it's not quite there yet. But yeah, it will be, and that's kind of what this research showed. I mean, all of their stats as far as what's being shot with these things are definitely more consumer oriented.
Right. Well, I tell you what, guys, if kind of move on a little bit, if I'm kind of lacking any type of creativity, I'll try to go and shoot with some film, maybe some old film, something that's outdated a little bit, and do some crazy exposures with it, or some different kinds of development process, just to kind of change it up, make it a little bit more artsy. And one of the things I do to kind of boost the creativity is I'll use one of these. I'll pick up like a Lensbaby, for example. Lensbabys are pretty cool for shooting artistic stuff, because this one right here is a Composer and a Composer Pro, and you can see how you can kind of manipulate this, and you can get that exact specific point of focus, and then everything else just beautifully blooms into this nice melting buttery type of look. And they really come out. You make some incredible,
they're pretty cool looking,
artistic shots with this. Obviously, you're not going to shoot a wedding with this because they would shoot you. But
but maybe a couple artsy shots for the wedding would be
exactly.
nice.
Very, very nice. You do a set of, you do some of the rings or maybe some flowers or something like that with that lens. They come out unbelievable.
Yeah, they look great.
And the thing is, right. And the thing is you don't have to do it in post. That's
Right.
the whole thing. Don't do it in post. Save time, save money, that type of thing. Anything that you could do in camera, you need to do in camera. But anyways, from that, talking about the mirrorless, now Lensbaby is now created 4 of their lenses specific for the X mount of Fuji.
Yeah, the Fuji X mount. Yep.
They're bringing in that whole mirrorless technology into their lens. They're offering that mount now, which really, once again, lends credibility for mirrorless and how it is what are they saying? 15% drop on one, but 16.5 increase on mirrorless.
Yep.
That's a lot.
It's
so
significant, and these manufacturers of aftermarket equipment are really starting to see the validity of this market, and they're the mirrorless market, and they're starting to build more and more products for it.
Yeah.
So
That's
they
where
got the
money is.
Composer Pro with Sweet 35 optic and the Sweet 50 optic. They have the circular fisheye and the Velvet 56 portrait lens. So
Right.
those are all available right now for the Fujifilm X mount cameras.
Yeah. And like I said, if you guys have not tried a Lensbaby, give them a shot. It's definitely a cool artistic type of lens to play with for sure. So anyways, moving on, GoPro Hero. This is kind of interesting. We both like the GoPro. I know you want to do some work with the GoPro. You haven't had time as of yet to do some
I
with
haven't had
it.
any free time. It's been crazy. Yeah, these GoPros are really cool. We talk about them all the time, it seems like. And they just came out with the Hero Plus with the LCD screen.
Right.
This is a feature that people have been asking about for a long time. You can't see what you're shooting on a GoPro. I mean, there's no screen on the back. There's no interface except a couple buttons. But now they've got this touch LCD screen, which is pretty cool. It still shoots your 1080p video at 60 frames. You can take your 8 megapixel stills. It's the built-in touch display, and it has a speaker. So that's kind of interesting. And it's got the integrated waterproof housing that it's known for. So obviously you need to be able to access through this housing for touching the screen and stuff. But, a lot of the usual things that we would expect from this camera.
Yeah, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, the whole 9 yards. I like that the waterproof housing down to, I think it does 131 feet.
Yeah.
Of pressure that it can get down there. So obviously most of us aren't going to ever see that depth, but it is interesting that it is available. If I remember correctly, months and months back, I read an article saying that the number 1 selling camera in the world today is GoPro.
Yes.
Which most people would be like, what is that? Are you kidding me? It's not Canon. It's not Nikon. It's not, no, it's GoPro.
Yep.
Which is just unbelievable. The amount of money that these people have made with this little tiny camera is just, it's
that initially when it started, the quality was, mediocre at best. It wasn't all that great, but it's just the usage. These extreme sport people went nuts over this thing.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So anyways, moving on. I'm hearing WWDC. We're right around the corner again. It's always nice to be able to kind of get in there and watch WWDC and see what is coming out and what's new. What is Apple doing? What are they not doing? So June 8th is when it's going to be happening. I think it's at 10 or 1 o'clock Eastern.
It's 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 p.m. Pacific time. And probably by the time you guys are hearing this, it will have already happened or will be happening shortly.
Yeah.
So if it's 1 p.m. Eastern time, by the time you're listening to this, just pause this and head over to Apple's website. And but this looks like it's going to be good. They're not really talking about any type of major hardware announcements. There was the rumor of new Apple TV hardware. I've also heard rumors to the counter that they have actually pulled those announcements from WWDC. We'll have to see about that. But this one is really about the software. Improving what we've got already. iOS and Yosemite have kind of been a little buggy as of late.
Yes. Yeah.
And they really need to pay some serious attention to fixing these bugs and compatibility. So that really is kind of the feel of what they're working on. Apple HomeKit, one of their new APIs, kind of like the Health Kit and the CarPlay. It goes along with their API line. So we're going to see some announcements from people integrating with that, like Nest and a few of these other companies, I'm sure. Right, so this could be interesting. I mean, from a photographer standpoint, I don't know what we're going to get.
Yeah, probably not so much. Yeah, not seeing the hardware as much and more in the software. They really needed to do this. They need to really
do this.
They're having some serious issues. I mean, if you have your iPhone and it's not updated, someone could just send you a whole bunch of characters and the thing shuts off. They can do it over and over and over and over again, and you can end up with not being able to use your phone. They really need to go back to that whole quality and really get dig down into it. It seems like they were releasing, and it for a while there was almost feeling like Microsoft-esque. Yeah. Where there's a lot of buggy stuff going on because they release stuff too fast and they're just pushing stuff out. And we're seeing a lot of updates and updates. We never used to see that before. So yeah, they need to really hone this down. I think that the HomeKit, that's really interesting. iOS 9 will be coming out that they're going to be talking about. Also 10.1.1 or 10.11, however you want to call it, for OS X. Yep. That right there is going to be, probably it. And then, of course, they're probably going to talk about music because that's a big play that they've been working on. Apple, it's kind of called Apple Music. That whole entire blending of the Dr. Dre thing, that whole purchase,
the whole Beats thing and stuff.
Beats, exactly, and that whole way that they want to kind of take out Spotify and Pandora and all that kind of out of the loop.
And then that what is it, Tidal or something? Jay-Z's thing. Is becoming big news, and they're trying to make strides as well. And I think we've talked about this actually before. If not, I've thought about it. But I mean, honestly, Jay-Z and his company, they're positioning themselves to be bought, is what they're doing. Yeah, they're not going to be able to compete with this, regardless of what anybody says. Yeah. Apple's going to be too big. They have the major market as it is. What they're doing is they're building contracts. They're putting a system in place for acquisition is what they're doing.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Talking about systems being put into place, there's a rumor that Nikon and Apple were working on this super secret project for iOS.
Interesting.
Like an app or something. And we just saw that this week, and it's kind of interesting just thinking about what would Nikon and Apple need to do together that Nikon or Canon or anyone couldn't do on their own and release an app.
Right, just as an app, yeah.
It's just as an app. The only thing I can think of is they're trying to come up with some type of play, whereas there's some type of interaction between Nikon and Apple. They were talking about possibly software rollout or firmware rollout directly through iOS. Which is an interesting kind of thought, right?
Yeah, to be able to use this app to interface your camera with and to be able to, basically install software, whether it be firmware, whether it would be, additional features. We've noticed with several companies now, they're rolling out firmware that is adding features to the camera as opposed to just bug fixes or just improvements to existing systems.
Exactly.
So by being able to do this is interesting, and why couldn't they just do it on their own, create an app? But I think it goes deeper than that because they probably need this authentication system, deeper authentication, because as a camera owner, if you need to update your firmware, you have to download it from the internet to your computer, plug the two together, and install it that way. Being able to do it, basically wirelessly through a mobile device, through an iOS device, there needs to be a deeper level of authentication to make sure that you are, in fact, the person who's accessing this camera. I'm thinking that there might be some more server-side stuff that needs to be done on Apple's end.
Maybe it's just as simple as a cipher,
Yeah.
where they can send out a 128 or 256 bit encryption to Apple, and Apple authenticates it with their cipher, saying, yes, this is an authentic Nikon user, blah 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 blah. Go ahead and send them this software. Or maybe it's just a communication of the pictures back up into the cloud and authenticating them, for some type of secure way of sending images out or letting them rest someplace on the cloud.
Well, everybody's been complaining about image security in the
Right,
cloud
and
lately.
losing.
So maybe this is some super double secret way to communicate with the camera with your iCloud account to be able to upload your photos there. I mean, Apple is pushing their Photos app. Right. So, from a consumer level, not a pro level.
Right.
So maybe this relationship with Nikon is more for their cool pics line as opposed to their pro line. But yeah, maybe it's a way to talk with iCloud that is going to create this secure tunnel for transmitting these images. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that could come out of this. I'm curious to see what's up.
Yeah, what comes of it.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, we need to get out.
Yes, we do. Yeah, we both got a lot going on today. So, Joe, if people want to connect with you outside of the show, what's the best way for them to reach you?
You can find me on Twitter, and that's at Joseph Christina, and that's Christina without an H.
Yes, and you can connect with me on Twitter. It's at Trevor Current.
So, all right, everyone, we are out of here for yet another week. You can get all the show notes from this episode by visiting digitalphotographycafe.com/189. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/dphotocafe, or call our comment line 440-345-6707. Once again, that's 440-345-6707, and we will see you next week.
You've been watching the Digital Photography Cafe show with Trevor Current and Joseph Christina. Subscribe to our YouTube channel with any compatible device by visiting youtube.com/dphotocafe. Be sure to subscribe to our audio feed through iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Xbox Music apps, or through RSS. Visit digitalphotographycafe.com for show notes and to connect with your host.